A couple videos ago, I applied for the brand new CSP, and no, that's not the Chase Sapphire Preferred, that is the Citi Strata Premier Card. While we haven't yet seen Citi release the new credit cards that they've been talking about for quite some time, we did at least get a revamp of the Citi Premier Card that has been so popular in recent past. And honestly, surprisingly to me, and I think a lot of y'all as well, all of the changes that they made to this card were actually positive. Now, while this card was not on my credit card roadmap until basically the end of this year, with all of the hype that's around it right now, as well as just the fact that they added an elevated welcome offer to it, I figured now would actually be the best time for me to apply for it. And despite me thinking that it did have low odds of getting approved for the card, obviously I was wrong. So in today's video, I'm going to explain exactly why I applied for this card, also give you my data points after applying for it. If you want to see my data points from before, go ahead and watch the Watch Me Apply video. And then I'll be unboxing the new Citi Strata Premier Card live for y'all and explaining some of the quirks I found with the Citi ecosystem through this process, as well as explain some of the new features of this card and stuff like that. So be sure to stick around to the end of this one. With all that being said, let's dive into part one here, why I applied for this card. Now, there are really only two reasons that I applied for the Citi Strata Premier Card, and the first one is one that I mentioned in the intro, that being that it had an elevated welcome offer on it. As y'all know, I'm somebody with a low amount of spend in my normal day-to-day life, hence why you see me constantly applying for new credit cards to lock in welcome offers, and whenever cards have elevated welcome offers on them, that presents a perfect opportunity for me to go for them. If you've watched my channel for a while too, you know that I love making credit card roadmaps, and I usually have about 5 or so cards planned out over the next year that I want to apply for, and the Citi Premier Card, before it was rebranded to the Strata Premier, was on my roadmap for December of this year. And the main reason for that was because I just assumed I would get denied for it until then, because I wanted to apply for some more personal cards and I'd have more inquiries getting added to my account. And we know that Citi is very inquiry sensitive as well as new account sensitive. But as we've seen from a lot of different lenders out there, whenever they do have elevated welcome offers on their cards, they're generally a little bit more lenient on who they approve. So once again, I figured this was just a great opportunity for me to try to, I guess, capitalize on their leniency while also hopefully getting an elevated welcome offer on this card, which I was hoping would be around in December of this year, but considering we don't know if that's going to happen and we do know that they have one now, made it basically a no-brainer for me to at least go for this and risk the hard pull, even if I wasn't to get approved. If you're someone similar to me, which I assume you are if you're watching my videos, I just want to reiterate the fact that I play the credit card game the way I do, because while yes, a lot of people could focus on like a 3 to 5 credit card setup and just run a ton of spend through those cards and earn like a good amount of points every single year for doing so, my spend is just not that high. I don't have a family, I don't have a spouse, you know, I'm just a guy in my young 20s and my only main responsibility is my dog Odin. So even like 2 to 5% back per year on all of my purchases really is not going to move the needle that much. Granted, I could take some free trips on that and it would be great, but getting 15 to 30% back on all of my purchases by just constantly applying for new welcome offers is a much better path to putting my spend to good use and has helped me accumulate thousands of dollars worth of free travel every single year I've been in the credit card game, even whenever I started back in college. And while yes, sometimes it does get annoying to balance so many different card accounts so early on in my credit card journey, I am more than willing to do that because of the benefits that these cards do provide me, specifically with their welcome offers. The second main reason I applied for this card is because I wanted to complete my Citi Duo and give me access to Citi's transfer partners. I have had the Citi Custom Cash since April of 2022, and I've been using that card up until a couple months ago for all of my gas purchases. And while I don't spend a ton of money on gas, I have accumulated almost like 40,000 points on the Citi Custom Cash just from that spend. But I've had no way to redeem those points for travel unless I wanted to redeem through their portal, but that would just give me a 1 cent per point valuation. And with only getting a maximum of a 1 cent per point redemption rate, I would rather just cash out my points and use that cash for the trips or what have you. But since I'm on team travel and I know that I have the ability to use those points with Citi's transfer partners with the right cards, which is, you know, this one, I decided to hold on to all of those points until I one day added the Citi Premier Card. So again, when this opportunity presented itself for me to actually apply for it, I knew I wanted to jump on it so I could just actually put those points to use. I talk a lot more about Citi's ecosystem and Citi's travel partners in the Watch Me Apply video, so definitely check that one out after this one. But since this video is mainly about the unboxing of this credit card, I'll just mention that Citi's transfer partners actually are very powerful. They don't necessarily have a ton of just straight domestic airline partners, for example, or even a lot of hotel partners in general, but through the use of airline alliances, you can book domestic flights with your Citi thank you points, or you could also just save your Citi thank you points for your international travel if that's something you like to do. So although a lot of us YouTubers don't necessarily talk about Citi a ton, just know that for one, the Citi trifecta, or really any combination of their cards, honestly will earn you the most amount of points for your daily spend. And once you have the Citi Strata Premier Card, you can then transfer all of those points out to their partners and get a ton of upsized value for your points. So while they do have their cons, the Citi credit cards are honestly very slept on. Near the end of this video, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the grievances I had with actually getting my Citi Custom Cash points to my Citi Strata Premier Card. But until then, let's go ahead and dive into part 2, which are my data points after applying. I'm actually going to kick this section off by talking about my Chase 524 status because I think this is the most interesting part about adding this card to my setup. Before applying for this card, I was sitting at 424, and my next card to drop off of my 524 status was going to happen in July of 2024. So in adding this credit card, when I did, I voluntarily push myself out of eligibility for Chase's credit cards until July. As I mentioned in that previous video about this card, I had originally planned on adding one, if not both, of the World of Hyatt credit cards at the point that I added the Citi Strata Premier, mainly because I was under 524, so I could get them. I could add the business one first, it wouldn't add to my 524 count. Then I could add the personal one, be at 524, have another card fall off in July, and just keep my cycle going. But I honestly just could not bring myself to add a hard pull to my account or add to my 524 status with the personal card, considering I just don't think that either of them are super powerful. I've made a full video about these cards, and I don't want you to think that they're terrible because I probably will eventually add both of them, but they just haven't offered me anything yet that I'm just really gung-ho about. So yeah, I guess as of right now, I'm sitting at 524 just for another month or so. And while that sounds fine, you know, that sounds great, I'm going to be back under. I can apply for whatever Chase cards I want. If I was to add another personal card in July, I would then not be eligible for another Chase credit card until March of 2025. And then after that, I won't be eligible for another one until October of 2025. So we're now sitting at a point where I have to be very careful about what credit cards I add. Likely will be adding a lot of Chase Inc. cards in the near future because I want to always have a handle on my Chase 524 status since I value Chase Ultimate Rewards points so highly. I'll definitely make a new roadmap video here pretty soon because it's basically completely different than it was before. So keep an eye out for that. But with my 524 status fully understood now, let's talk about my credit scores and hard inquiries with each of the bureaus. Since we're on the topic of numbers here, I want to take the time to tell y'all about the app that I use to manage my credit cards from 6 different lenders at this point. That of course being Max Rewards. Max Rewards is an all-in-one credit card management app that allows you to track things like your total card balances, point balances, bill due dates, and more all in one interface. And what that means is that you don't have to swap anymore between all of your different lenders' websites or apps to find all this information and then bring it together in a spreadsheet or something like that. You just get all of that information and more in one single app, which is super convenient. One of the really powerful tools that I've used for probably 10 of my 14 credit cards is their welcome bonus tracker because, as y'all probably know, most lenders don't give you easy access to understanding how much more spend you have to hit a welcome offer. Luckily for us, Max Rewards has those trackers as well as many others in their app, which I found to be extremely helpful. While the free features of Max Rewards are great, they do offer a paid tier called Max Rewards Gold that will not only automatically activate your quarterly rotating categories for you on your cards like your Chase Freedom Flex, but will also automatically activate your credit card offers for you. And even if you don't want to try out Max Rewards Gold just yet, you can download the app completely for free using the link down in my description. And during the sign up process, if you enter the promo code Spencer, you'll get a 1-month discount off of your annual Max Rewards Gold subscription if you do ever decide to upgrade. Thank you to Max Rewards for sponsoring this video as always, but let's get back to the content. Starting with TransUnion, my credit score is currently sitting at a 758, which is down 9 points from before I applied for the credit card. I also have 4 hard inquiries with them right now, which is up 1. TransUnion is who Citi pulled for me to get this credit card, and that's the only bureau they pulled, which was very nice. With Equifax, I'm currently sitting at a 764, which is also down 9 points from what it was before I applied, and I only have 1 hard inquiry with them, which is the same as before. If you're wondering why my score did drop, I mean, for one, it's going to be because my average age of accounts did get cut a little bit by applying for another personal card like this. And on top of that, I also got the hard pull with TransUnion, which played a factor there. I wouldn't think too far into this though, because I also did have my balances on my other personal cards go up pretty highly right before applying for this card. So overall, like I've said in the past, I just really don't worry about hard inquiries and stuff like that whenever I'm applying for new credit cards. And a big factor in that is because I've also, applied for 14 cards at this point. So my oldest cards are still just going to prop up my average age of accounts, and I'm not super worried about it. If this was my second ever credit card, my average age of accounts would get hit a lot harder, especially if I had that card for say like 5 years. And then you would see a more drastic dip to your credit score, but that will recover pretty quickly. And as long as you're not applying for a new loan anytime soon, you can weather those short-term dips in your credit score, especially whenever you get the benefits of a new credit card with a high welcome offer. And then lastly, with Experian, I will mention that my credit score is a 740 and I have 3 hard inquiries. Both of those values are the same as before I applied. Now let's go ahead and dive into part 3, which is going to be the live unboxing. Before I flip my camera down to my desk so we can look at the card together, I want to mention 3 quick things that I think are going to be very helpful for you. In a lot of my unboxing videos, I do mention the fact that I usually call to get my cards expedited, mainly because I just want to hit the welcome offer quicker and I don't want to have to wait a week or 10 days for the card. So bullet number 1 that I have here is that this is the first card in a while that I have not tried to even get expedited. And the main reason for that is because this was like the day before I left on my 9-day Savannah road trip that I did. So it didn't matter if the card came in the next 2 days or not. My second bullet has to do with the travel protections on this card. And I might might mention this again later during the unboxing, but in the Watch Me Apply video, I noted how Citi was kind of, I guess, very vague about what travel protections this card actually did have on it, even though they did add those to their card with the rebrand to the Citi Strata Premier. But thanks to a comment from my buddy Cesar Joel and some cross-checking that I did to make sure this was accurate, I learned that the card has $500 trip delay coverage, and that's if your trip was delayed 6 hours or more. It has $3,000 worth of lost damage luggage, up to $10,000 of trip cancellation coverage over the course of the year, and secondary car rental coverage, and that's all pretty competitive, as Cesar mentioned, for a $95 annual fee card. The big one that stands out to me that is different from, say, the other CSP, the Chase Sapphire Preferred, is the fact that the Chase Sapphire Preferred does have primary car rental coverage or a primary auto collision damage waiver. So if that's for some reason all you care about, this card might not be super helpful in that regard. But the beauty of travel protections in general is that you can use any card to pay, say, the taxes and fees if you were to use points for that trip, and that will activate the travel protections on that card. So if you booked a rental car with points through Citi's travel portal, at checkout, you could use your Chase Sapphire Preferred to pay the taxes and fees and get that primary auto rental collision damage waiver that card has. And then lastly, before we take a look at this card, I did have to call to connect my Citi Thank You Point accounts. I had no way online that I could find of making sure that the Citi Thank You Points I earned on my Citi Custom Cash would actually be able to be used through my Citi Strata Premier. So I finally just gave up and called their customer service line, which took a while to get connected to. And I had someone there connected to accounts for me. And now in my dashboard, I see that I can use the points on either card and use whatever redemption method I want. But obviously for me, I'm going to always use my Citi Strata Premier to transfer those points out to their partners. And I recommend that you do the same if you're on team travel. They did mention that I can't unlink the cards now, which I don't know why that is the case and why you would want to do that, I guess. But just another quick note for y'all before we see this card. Alrighty, so here we are with the camera flipped over onto my desk, and we're gonna rip open this package together, take a couple looks at this card, and just discuss what else comes with it so whenever you get the card, you can know what to expect. First of all, I mentioned that this card did take pretty sure over a week to come in. It took longer than really any card I've had in a long time. And it came in this packaging that has no Citi, wording on it or anything. So it's a little bit more discreet. But opening up this package, there's only, 3 pieces of paper that come with it. So we'll dive through each of them together and discuss what, important information is with each. So of course, this is going to be the piece of paper that the card comes with itself. So we're going to set that aside for now. And I know some of y'all are just going to skip to the end of the video to see that, and that's completely fine with me, but I like to build up a little bit of anticipation, But the bulk of the information that comes with this card is going to start here with the card member agreement. And I guess I shouldn't have said that this card comes with only 3 pieces of paper, because this little section or pamphlet or whatever alone is like 12 pieces of paper. And we start here with the facts about the interest and fees, as well as a piece of paper underneath that comes with information about your credit report that they pulled in order to approve you for this application. Going back to the facts about interest and fees here, you can see I highlighted a couple of numbers. I highlighted the annual percentage rate of 29.24%, mainly because I just realized that is extremely high. And I think that's, obviously the case for all credit cards out there these days. I say I think because I genuinely do not care about APRs. And the reason for that, as I've said so many times on my channel, is that I will never pay interest to a bank. And if you're in the situation where you have to do so, you should not be playing the credit card game like I do. If you're trying to play the game like I do, the only real way to be successful is to not be in credit card debt. So if you're somebody in credit card debt now, you definitely want to take care of that first before applying for new cards for these welcome offers and stuff like that. That's going to come secondary. The only other fee that I highlighted here is going to be the annual fee of $95. Again, these transaction fees and penalty fees are things that I care less about because I don't ever plan on doing a balance transfer or cash advance, and the penalty fees only apply if you don't make your payments. But all of us here are going to be making our payments on time and in full every single month, so we don't have to worry about that. This paper about the credit report I thought was just kind of interesting because we can see exactly what they pulled. So it looks like my credit score was a 759 through TransUnion whenever they pulled it here in May of 2024. So that's pretty much exactly in line with my data points that I mentioned earlier. After that, we have a very hefty card agreement guide, which I am not going to be reading at all here today. I did read through this earlier actually because I was looking for information about the travel protections that this card has, as they did mention that I would get paperwork about that whenever I got approved for the card. But lo and behold, I did not get any information through the card member agreement guide or through any other piece of paper in this envelope. And the only way I could find those benefits was by Caesar's comment for one, as well as just online. So hopefully all that stuff is accurate. And I guess I can't confirm that for you through the paper that they gave me, which is pretty annoying. And lastly, before the card itself, we have a piece of paper here telling us what Citi does with our personal information. Seems like every single credit card comes with one of these days. And they tell you exactly what Citibank does share with people, which is, all of this stuff, and whether or not you can actually limit the sharing, which it looks like you only can for 3 out of the 7. So really nothing super interesting in this package, except for maybe that credit report piece of paper that I showed you, other than the actual card itself. As you can see here in the top right, it shows my credit limit of $8,000, as well as my account number and cash advance limit and stuff like that. But of course, can't show you the account number here. And now all that's left to do is to show you the card itself itself. So let me go ahead and reveal this here in 3, 2, 1. There is the Citi Strata Premier card in all of its glory. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this off the paper and get this little sticky thing off of it as well. I will note here while I rip this sticker off that I had to take this card out of the packaging beforehand, not only to cover up the numbers here on the back, but also because I needed to start spinning towards the welcome offer. So it is actually a little bit scuffed up already. And that's gonna go into, I guess, one of my complaints about this card in the sense that it really doesn't feel premium like at all. It is definitely not metal and it's very plasticky, just like all the other Citi cards I've ever used. And like it's already scratching up. I've literally probably put it in a terminal like 2 or 3 times, and it's more noticeable here on the back, like on this little signature line and stuff like that. I mean, it's scratched up pretty good. But overall, I actually kind of like the design. I like the outer edging of it. Funny enough, I didn't realize that that was part of the card. So in all of the card art that I've been putting on my channel for this card, I've been removing that outside thing because I thought it was just like a weird background image, I guess, associated with the card. But no, it's actually part of the card. But yeah, y'all let me know if you like this design or the old design better. And we'll go ahead and run through, I guess, everything else that this card has, starting with the Citi logo as well as the Strata Premier logo here as well. Has the tap to pay logo and the chip. My name here on the bottom left with the MasterCard logo on the bottom right. I do think it looks pretty sleek that they just did all gray basically. I like that look. And then the back looks like really any other credit card you would find. Kind of reminds me of like the Visa gift cards, like really nothing special at all, just a gray and black back of the card here. But you have the mag strip up top. You have your card number right here, which I have covered up, your expiration date, as well as your CVV, the World Elite logo on the bottom right, and that's really all there is to write home about. Like I said, overall, I do actually think this card design is pretty solid, but it does not feel like a premium card whatsoever, and I'm just used to, at this point, even having no annual fee cards like the Built MasterCard, have a good solid design with it that feels premium. But hey, maybe this will lighten up my wallet a bit, considering I do plan on using this card a lot more now than initially anticipated. I'm gonna save that information for another video as well, because I'm basically gonna be redoing my entire credit card setup here in the future, so definitely keep an eye out for that. While we're here, I might as well show you what else was on this paper. I just actually activated the card straight through the app. I didn't use any of this here, but that's really all that this paper has on it, so nothing super interesting. And at this point, if you'd like to see the full application process for this credit card to see how I have it here in my hands today, go ahead and watch this video in the middle next. And as always, Odin and I want to say thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel, and we'll catch you guys next time.